Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's session, I'll be discussing about accounting standards with a detailed explanation along with some examples. In my previous video, I have given the introduction to accounting standards. Please do check it out. In today's video, I'll be talking about 6 accounting standards, namely AS1, which deals with the disclosure of accounting policy, AS2, which mainly talks about inventory and its valuation, AS3, which talks about CFS, that is cash flow statement, AS4, which deals with contingencies and events occurring after the balance sheet date, AS5, which talks about net profit or loss for the period, prior period items, and changes in accounting policy, AS7, which talks in whole about the construction contracts. So without any further delay, let's get started with AS1. AS1, disclosure of accounting policy. So what an accounting policy is actually? Accounting policies is nothing but a set of rules that an accountant should follow while preparing his financial statement for the company, right? So before preparing the financial statements for the company, the accountant should ensure that he has followed all the policies that are relevant for his company while preparing the financial statement. So it is basically a set of rules that the accountant or any other managerial person should follow while preparing the financial statements or the books of accounts, right? So when it comes to disclosure of such policies, disclosure means you're telling it to the stakeholders that you have followed certain policies, where you have followed it, how you have followed it, all those you should be mentioning in your financial statements for your stakeholders to understand. So there are 10 significant part that is given in AS1. The first one is depreciation, that is method of depreciation and amortization that we follow in the company. What is the meaning of depreciation? Before we go into that, let's talk about assets. Assets can be classified mainly into fixed assets and current assets. When it comes to fixed assets, it can again be classified as tangible and intangible. When it's tangible, the depreciation, that is the wear and tear, is known as depreciation. When it's an intangible assets like goodwill, patent, etc., we call it as amortization. Right? So when the fixed assets, which are tangible, are used as wear and tear, we call it as depreciation. When we use an intangible assets over the year, we reduce its value, and that method is called as amortization, right? So for doing this, we have several methods that is available in the market. For example, SLM, that is straight line method, or WDV, which means written down value method. These two are quite famous, and there are many other methods, but these two methods are quite famous when it comes to depreciation. An accountant, when he is following certain method of depreciation, he has to mention it in the financial statement which method he is actually following, and what are all the fixed intangible assets they have, and what are all the intangible fixed assets they have. Everything they are supposed to mention it in the books of accounts. So this is called as disclosure of method of depreciation and amortization, right? I hope this is clear. Moving ahead, we have treatment of expenses during construction. Say I am a company, I'm an educational institution, right? So I have been constructing a building for say 5 years. For all the 5 years, I'm supposed to give the expenses of my construction cost, right? So how am I dividing it? On what basis I'm going to treat it? All those I'm supposed to bring it under AS1. I have to show it in the books of accounts as to how much of expenses I'm giving for 1 year, how much of expenses I'm giving for the next year. All these along with some evidences I'm supposed to give it in my books of accounts. Third we have is conversion of foreign currency. So what is my base currency value? right? How am I converting my currency value to another country's currency, right? So all these details I'm supposed to give it to the stakeholders in the financial statement. So why are we actually doing this? It is for the stakeholders understanding. Stakeholders are someone who will be utilizing the financial statements. Say for example, management, your shareholders, employees, legal authorities, bank people, all these, they are all the stakeholders of the company. Creditors, okay, so they are all the stakeholders of the company. They have some connection with the company. So it is necessary, it is mandatory for the company to tell them what is going on within the company, right? So how am I going to do everything? What am I following? Am I following all the rules? How am I following it? To what extent am I following it? Everything I'm supposed to disclose it to them, right? Moving on, we are talking about valuation of inventories here, about which in detail I'll be discussing in AS2, right? Basically, inventory is something which we have in our business. Okay, so it can be classified as three. One is raw material, the other one is WIP, that is work in progress. Finally, we have finished goods. These are the three types of inventories that is available in any business. If it's a manufacturing industry, we'll be definitely having raw material, WIP, and finished goods. So, how am I supposed to value it? What method am I actually following it? All these I'm supposed to be mentioning in my books of accounts. Moving on, treatment of goodwill. Goodwill here is a very tricky part because this cannot be seen. It's an intangible asset. So it cannot be seen. So when an accountant is mentioning that the value of goodwill is so and so in the books of account, he's supposed to give me some evidence supporting his calculation. How he has done it, how he has calculated the goodwill of the company, on what basis he is actually calculating it. How am I going to treat it in my balance sheet? How am I supposed to treat it in my books of accounts? Everything I have to mention it in the books of accounts. Then we have valuation of investments. Investments, okay, let's take an example here. In year 0, I have purchased an investment, say for rupees 5 crores. In year 5, it has become 50 crores. So if I just plainly mention in year 5 balance sheet as investment as 50 crores, the stakeholders might question me, how come it went from 5 crores to 50 crores? What is the reason for it? What is the reason for the hike? I am supposed to answer to their question. So I should write how I have calculated this 50 crores. What is the, on what basis I have calculated it? Is there any supporting evidence? Do I have any interest or dividend or anything that supports such a decision, supports such a value that I have given? Is it the market value of the investment, or is it something that I have calculated? Whatever that is, I have to mention what method I have followed for calculating my investment value, right? Next comes the retirement benefit. Retirement benefits are something which are given to the employees by the employers. Okay, so for a loyal employee who has been with the company for several years, the employer might give him some retirement benefits when he is retiring, right? So how am I supposed to treat it in my books of accounts? All these I have to disclose it in my books of accounts. Next, I have recognition of profit for long term contracts, that is LTC. Whatever profits that I have got through LTC, I'm supposed to recognize it in such a manner, and I have to mention at what purpose I have taken it and how am I recognizing the profit or loss out of it, right? So next we have valuation of fixed assets. Here we have several methods. We can take it as market value or net realizable value. We can either take the market value or the net realizable value for valuing your fixed assets. Whatever method they have taken, okay, whatever method they have adopted, the accountants are supposed to mention on what basis they have calculated it, on what basis they have taken the depreciation, on what basis they have calculated the value of fixed assets. Whether it is the market value of the fixed assets or whether it's the net realizable value or whether it is my book value or historical value or whatever that is, I'm supposed to mention on what purpose I have given such a value. Say for example, I have mentioned in my books of accounts that I have a machinery worth of 50 crores and I have a building worth of 10 lakhs, right? So I have mentioned it like that. So I have to give some supporting evidence as to how am I calculating this value, on what basis I have done it, whether I have taken the market value or whether I have taken the book value. I have to mention it in my books of accounts, right? And lastly, I have something called as contingent liability. Treatment of contingent liability. It means it may or may not happen. It is not certain, right? So it may or may not happen. A very classic example that I can give for it is COVID. Obviously, none of us have anticipated that there will be a virus breakout. So many businesses have got affected during the COVID period. And those losses, how am I supposed to account for? Those liabilities that I have incurred during those period because of that COVID breakout. How am I supposed to treat it in my books of accounts? How have I treated it in my books of accounts? All those things I'm supposed to disclose it in my books of accounts and the financial statement for the purpose of my stakeholders understanding, right? So this is about AS1. Moving on, we are going to discuss about AS2, that is valuation of inventories. Valuation of inventory basically has two sectors. One, it talks about the accounting policy that I'm following, which regards to inventories, and also what method I'm using for measuring my inventories. Secondly, I have to talk about something called as total carrying amount, that is the total value of my inventories. And finally, I have something called as classification. Classification, basically a normal company's classification will be like this. One, it will be a raw material category. Number two, it will be a WIP category. Number three, it will be a finished good category. Okay. Normally, a company's business closes the balance sheet closes on this date, right? On this particular date, I'm supposed to close down for that year, right? So, I'm supposed to mention in the balance sheet how much of raw materials I have, how much of work in progress goods I have, and how much of finished goods I have in my business. So in order to estimate it, there are certain policies, there are some methods. For example, I have something called as LIFO, that is last in, first out. Whatever comes at the last, I will sell it at first. And I have something called as FIFO, that is first in, first out. Whatever comes first, I will first exit it, right? I'll first utilize it. And lastly, I have something called as weighted average, right? There are three methods which are quite popular in India. And out of these three methods, any one method can be followed by the company. And I have to mention it in the books of accounts on what basis I have taken the method and how am I calculating my inventories on the last date of balance sheet and how am I measuring it and what is the total carrying amount including my raw materials, including my WIP and including my finished goods. So it should be combined of all the three, but there should also be a classification as to, say for example, raw materials I have 50 lakhs, WIP say I have 3 crores, finished goods say I have 2 crores. Value of goods, right? So all these I'm supposed to mention it in my books of accounts along with some evidence as to how I have calculated it, what method I have used. All those things I'm supposed to disclose, right? Along with the valuation part, right? So this is AS2. Moving on, we have something called as CFS, that is cash flow statement. It's a very interesting area wherein it talks about major activities of the business. First, let us understand what the activities are. The first one, operating activity. Operating activity is nothing but the business operation of the company, right? So before going into the activities, I would like to explain you about the cash flow statement. What is cash flow? What is the meaning of cash flow? It is nothing but you're identifying the inflow of cash and you're identifying the outflow of cash. So by the name, we can easily identify that we will not include anything that does not have a cash value. For example, on credit, if I have purchased a good, say for example, I have purchased a machinery on credit. This will not come inside my CFS, right? Because there is no cash element there. The cash element should be present in order to be taken into consideration in CFS. Either there should be an inflow of cash or there should be an outflow of cash, right? Why am I doing this CFS? To find out what amount of cash I have put into my business and what amount of cash I have actually taken out of the business, right? Whether it is actually profitable or not. Okay, whether am I having a negative cash balance or a positive cash balance, I'm supposed to find it. Okay, for which I'm having three activities. The first one is operating activity, which is nothing but a normal business operation for any company, right? Say for example, I'm a garment business company. I manufacture, I produce garments, right? So my operating activity would be to produce garment, right? To manufacture, to buy, to procure my raw materials, to use my labor force, to convert it into a finished product, right? To convert it into a dress, right? So this will be my operating activity. Whatever cash inflows and outflows I require for it, everything will be noted down in my operating activity. Say for example, purchases, cash purchases will come here as an outflow of cash. It comes under operating activity. Then say for example, I have made some depreciation. It will again come in operating activity. Likewise, there are certain things which are related to the business operation. All those activities directly affecting the business. All those activities are coming under operating activity, right? Moving on, I have something called as investing activity. That is me as a business. Say for example, I am ABC company and I am going to invest in some other company, say for example, XYZ, right? I have bought shares of XYZ and I've also bought some government bonds. So these are my company's investments. I have invested in XYZ share capital. I have invested in government bonds. So this is my company's investment in other places, in other companies, in government bonds or anything. But the equity, that is the capital part, debenture, any loan that I have taken, all those will not come here. Okay, that is not my investment. Investing activity purely talks about that particular company's investment in the other companies, in government bonds, in other areas wherever they have invested. It can be of any investment. They could have purchased a fixed assets. That is an investment, right? I am purchasing a machinery for my company and I am planning to use that machinery for at least 10 years. So that is a fixed asset. That is my investment in my company. So that will come under investing activity, right? So I have invested in bonds or I have invested in XYZ company. I am receiving the dividend. I am receiving the dividend here. So here this dividend is my cash inflow, right? Because I am getting that dividend. Understood? So I am receiving this inflow of cash through dividend from XYZ, the company that I have made investment in, right? I am receiving the benefit out of it. So it is my investment and I am receiving the benefit out of it. Everything relating to that will come under investing activity. And finally, financing activity. It is again a very tricky area, because here, for a company to run, right, we need finance. That is the blood of any business, right? So for this finance, I can either go for two things. One, equity. The other one, debt. Debt, I can take it as a debenture or any long-term loan, right? Equity, either it can be equity share capital, preference share capital, or anything else, right? So these kind of financial activity to raise finance for my business purpose. If I'm raising finance for my business purpose, that is called as financial activity, right? So I am not investing here. I'm requesting the general public to invest in my company. I am requesting them to, participate in my equity shareholding, right? I am requesting them to buy my debentures. I am requesting the bank to give me a long-term loan, right? So here I am borrowing. I'm borrowing from an outsider. This is my financing activity. Here, say for example, I am declaring the dividend. Okay. So this is a cash outflow, but it comes under finance activity. Again, I'm paying interest to my bank. Again, it's a cash outflow, finance activity. I'll give another example. I'm redeeming the debentures. Redemption. Redeeming the debenture. That is again a financial activity, because I'm closing down. Okay, I'm going to pay back to my debenture holders. Okay, so all those will come under financial activity. So these are the major three activities of the company, and only the cash items of the company which has these activities will come here. Okay, at the end of the CFS, I'll be able to find out either it is a cash inflow, that is the positive number, or cash outflow, that is a negative number, negative cash balance, right? So this is about CFS, that is AS3, right? Moving on, we have something called as contingencies and events occurring after balance sheet date. Let's talk about contingencies first. I have mentioned already, contingencies are something that is uncertain. It may or may not happen, right? So in case that thing has happened and I have incurred a loss because of it, right? Once I have received a loss, okay, so I am supposed to mention it in my books of accounts. If I have incurred any loss and I'm able to find out the value of it, I'm able to find out a proper evidence, and I'm able to find out the amount of loss that I have got, then I will enter it in my books of accounts, because it is mandatory to show how much of a loss I have incurred, right? So if I have gained anything out of it, then we are not supposed to disclose it in my books of accounts, because it is not going to be a recurring event. Okay, not a recurring event. Contingencies are not repetitive in nature. For example, if I am operating in say garment business, okay, if I'm having a garment business, me having a profit or loss every year is a recurring thing. That is, it happens every now and then. Every year I'll calculate my profit or loss. Every year I'll see an improvement in my company. So that is a recurring event. An embezzlement or a theft is not a recurring event. It happens once in a blue moon. Okay, so this is contingency, right? So if I have gained anything due to a non-recurring item, it shall not be recorded, right? Any gain that I have got due to the non-recurring contingency, it shall not be recorded in my books of accounts. This is the rule that is given in AS4, right? If it is a loss and I'm able to attribute the amount, then of course I have to mention it in the books of accounts. If it's a gain and I don't know if it is a recurring thing, it's a non-recurring thing, definitely we should not bring it into the books of accounts, because it is going to elevate your profit, whereby it will affect your business in the future, right? It will give you an abnormal profit, which will definitely affect your taxes and everything. So that is why we will not mention it in the books of accounts if it's a gain. If it's a loss, being a contingent loss, then it should be mentioned if the amount is attributable. So this is about contingencies. Now the second part, event occurring after the balance sheet date. What is the meaning of after the balance sheet date? For example, my balance sheet closes on 31st March 2023. This is the closure date. I have to sign my balance sheet on this date, right? So after this date, I am declaring a dividend, right? I am declaring dividend. So what am I supposed to do? I am supposed to disclose it in my balance sheet as well as in my notes to accounts. Why? Because it's a financial effect. It has a financial effect on my balance sheet. I'm declaring dividend, which is going to have a financial impact. The cash is going to go out of the company. So that is a very important decision that I have made. But I have done it after the balance sheet date. That is, the amount of balance sheet is getting affected because of it. So at that point, I'm supposed to make alteration to my balance sheet. I have to incorporate it in my balance sheet and I have to give it in the notes to accounts column as well, right? If the amount does not affect the balance sheet, or if it's a very minimal amount, it does not have a very big nominal impact on my business, then what I can do? I need not show it in the books of accounts. I need not alter my balance sheet values. If it has a great impact in my balance sheet, then even if the event is occurring after the balance sheet date, I'm supposed to bring it into consideration inside the balance sheet date, in the balance sheet as well as in the notes to accounts column. So this is regarding AS 4. Moving on, AS 5, it talks about three things: net profit or loss for the period, that is the current period, right? For the current period, and prior period items, that is previous year period. And finally, it talks about changes in accounting policy, right? Let's get started with the first one, net profit or loss for the period. Okay, we can classify the activities in the business as two: one, ordinary; the other one, extraordinary. Ordinary activities are something that is again recurring in nature. It happens every year in the business. Me having a production cycle is recurring event, because that is why my business is for. Okay, me having a general meeting is recurring in nature. It tends to happen again and again in a business, right? So it is a very ordinary activity in my business. Extraordinary item, that is, it does not happen very frequently in my business. It happens of once in a blue moon. For example, fire or any such serious event, but it is not recurring in nature. It happens once in a blue moon, very rarely, right? Rare event, right? So if my net profit or loss is because of the ordinary activity, then I'm supposed to show it in my books of accounts. If it is because of some extraordinary activity and I have and I have a loss, I'm supposed to mention it in the books of accounts. If it is a gain, I'm not supposed to mention it in the books of accounts. If it is a loss, it is mandatory to mention if the amount is attributable. If I have got a gain out of it due to that extraordinary activity, then that books of accounts is not necessary. I need not mention it in my books of accounts. So this is regarding the current period net profit or loss, right? Now let's talk about prior period item. That is, say for example, my current year is 2023-24. My previous year will be 2022-2023. Due to some occurring in the year 2022-2023, there are some implication in my current year. due to my happenings in previous year, I'm having the impact in the current year also. Then I'm supposed to bring it into consideration in the current year as well. If there is an impact because of the previous year happening in the current year, then I'm supposed to bring it in the current year. I'm supposed to bring that impact in the current year financial statements. Okay, that is the rule that is given in AS 5. And finally, I have something called as changes in accounting policy. A classic example would be change in the method of depreciation. Okay, this we would have studied in our higher education. That is our 11th and 12th itself, we would have studied this classic example. So if I'm switching over from SLM to WDV method of valuation of depreciation, then I'm supposed to mention that I have changed my accounting policy from SLM to WDV. Why? Because it is mandatory for the company to inform it to the stakeholders or the readers of the financial statement that there is a switch from SLM to WDV. It's not just for depreciation. Any change in the accounting policy should be mentioned in the books of accounts. So this is about AS5. Let's move on to AS7, construction contracts. It mainly talks about 5 things. First, contract revenue. What is the revenue that I have got because of this construction? Entire, that is total contract revenue that I have got. I have supposed to estimate it and disclose it. Right? Next, I have receipt of such revenue. Evidence supporting such a revenue. Number 3, I have something that is called as cost. Previous year and current year, right? Whatever the cost that I have incurred in the previous years as well as in the current year, because construction cannot happen in 1 year. It takes a lot of time and it takes years together for constructing a building. So it is mandatory for the company to measure the cost that is incurred for the company for the current year as well as for the previous year. Previous year cost would have been included in the previous year financial statement. The current year cost should be attributed to the current year. So that is the third point. Fourth point, I'm supposed to estimate the stage of completion. Right? Stage of completion is nothing but, say for example, I have a construction agency and I have just started my construction in the year 2023. Okay, yeah, I am estimating that the construction will go till 2026. There is a 3 years period. So in 2024, I can say that 20% of the work is done. In the year 2025, I'm expecting that 75% of the work will be done. So this is my estimation about the stage of completion of construction. So this is mandatory for any accountant to estimate and find out. Only then I can divide the cost to that particular year. Say for example 2023, I can attribute it to that 2024, 2025 and 2026. I can divide the cost to the particular year only if I can estimate the stage of completion. And finally, I have the contract cost attributable to contract if it is clearly identifiable. Clearly identifiable cost. That is, I should be able to find out for which year how much of cost that I have incurred. So these are the 5 points that is mentioned in AS7. These are the certain things which the accountants are supposed to estimate, value, find it and disclose it to the stakeholders. So with this, we have come to the end of the video. For more videos, please subscribe and thank you so much for watching Wisdom Crafts.